Do you like books? Do you read? Do you read a lot? Do you consider yourself well read? Because Lobo is. he's well read. He's well read. He's not just a bit red. Look at him. He's well read. There's red fucking all over the shop. Red hair. Oh, and he's red. He's got red eyes. I mean, he's got red eyes anyway. Look at that. All the bits. They're all red. So much red. Don't know if he's coming or going. Lobo. It should be called Red Bow. Red Bow, because he's. Well, that bit wasn't funny. The initial bit was funny. The bit with the well read. I mean, that's quite a good pun, isn't it? Well read, read a lot, but he's well read because he's. I don't know if he reads a lot. There's the bit in the Bisley Lobo where he's reading that biography of Lobo and he gets all mad about it, doesn't he? Or something. I don't know. I haven't actually read it. That would be quite a funny, YouTube channel or series where I review comics. I review the stories of comics based entirely on the images, having not actually read the comics. Like, not even reviewing the art, which would make sense. I mean, that's almost sort of what I do anyway, kind of, sort of, not really, but a bit, kind of. I don't really review it. I just look at it and go, oh, look at that, that's good, isn't it? I mean, not always. Sometimes it's shit. But sometimes it's good, isn't it? Look at the good art. That's good. Good art. It's good when art's good. But it would be funny to have a series. Well, it would be funny to me. I don't know if it would get me anywhere. But I'd find it funny for a moment or two. Oh, look at his hair. In his hair, like, big. Oh, it's such big hair. My, Lobo, what big hair you have. All the better to beat you with while I'm shooting you in the face with a space gun in space. Hello, everyone. It's part 2, day 2 of our Lobo Day. It's Lobo Day. It's Lobo Day. It's day 2 of Lobo Day. Lobo Day, because it's space days, and space days don't work the same as Earth days. So you can have a 2-part day. You can have day Lobo Day, day 2. Lobo Day, day 2. Day 2, Lobo Day. Daytona, day 2 in Daytona of Lobo Day, day 2. Daytona was the only other word I could think of that had the word day in it. There we go, all the underpainting painted, under the paint that will be there. I had to clean out my water. It's been quite a while since I painted anything. I've just not been feeling it, some of those days. And I opened up my little lid. I went, I can't make a pop noise. I feel ashamed. I feel like less of a man. And it fucking stank. I'm not exaggerating. It reeked. It still smells a little bit now of just fucking rot. Let's switch out palettes like you'd never know. It stank of mold, like rot and mold. What I can equate it to, the almost exact 1-to-1 similar smell that I could think of was when you're at school and it's last day before the summer holidays. You get home, last day, all done, let's fucking go. Get home, chuck your school bag under your bed because you're not going to need that for 6 fucking weeks. Let's go, get rid of that shit, chuck it under there, forget about it for as long as possible. With maybe your PE kit in there, books, pencil cases, whatever. Maybe even your lunchbox with like a half-eaten sandwich, maybe an apple, because you're not going to eat an apple for your lunch, especially not on your last day. It's your last day on Earth. You're not going to spend your last day eating a fucking apple. Who'd do that shit? It's fucking stupid. And then, 6 weeks pass. Toodly-doodly-doo. That's how... it's like the old Batman show, where the thing goes in and out. It goes... just like that. And then 6 weeks are over, and it's time to go back to school. So you're like, oh shit. So you're pulling all this shit out from under your bed. Fucking pyjama bottoms, stained underwear, a shoe, fucking dirty magazines, 800 drawings of nude Simpsons characters in a filled to bursting plastic wallet that you're trying to hide from your family lest you be found out as the pervert you are. And eventually you find your school bag. You open it up, and that lunchbox has been containing something utterly atrocious, which is the stench of rotting food and neglect, which is basically what I smell like on any given day. Someone commented on one of my videos saying, oh, I bet it smells horrible in there. Good art though. And yeah, it basically smells like that. It smells like rotting food, rat turds, regret and neglect. That's basically what I smell like most days. And it's that exact... When I opened up my pot to paint, it was the exact smell, that exact same 6-week-old lunchbox rot and mould. I've done it before. I've opened it before where there's literally been like white fur mould growing in there, which I didn't realise until like some years ago, that acrylic paint would do that, because you figure it's acrylic, it's plastic, it's water with a bunch of plastic in it. But no, turns out if you leave it long enough, it will rot the fuck up. Like it's happened before. If I've gone to Sam's or something for like a week or so, I come home, I go do some painting, and as happened earlier today, I opened up my paint pot, swish it around, and it's a waft, an actual like of fucking ancient diseased fucking mould and shit. It's pretty horrendous. It's pretty fucking horrendous. But that's really by the by. It's sort of irrelevant. It is what it is. But it's just a sign that I need to either A, paint more often, because if I paint enough, the water level goes down, obviously, because I'm using water for the thing, and therefore I have to like refresh the water more often. So I either have to paint more often and thus refresh the water more often, or just refresh my water and clean it out more often. And that's the end of that. So it's Lobo Day 2. As I said, we had some fun looking at Lobo, drawing Lobo, and now painting a nice Lobo-y low blow. And that's fun. And I did the same thing I often do, which is agonise over how I want this particular piece to look. Do I want an action pose, something like with crazy foreshortening and effects? Do I want him just standing there stoically, anti-heroically, just looking every bit the cool, badass space bounty hunter fucking guy he is? Do I want to do something funny, make it a humorous painting? Do I put the dog in there, give him a gun and have him all being a part of the thing? Oh, bit of fun. I did a bunch of drawings. I just couldn't fucking... I couldn't decide, but I also felt like I couldn't come up with anything I was like I'd look at and go, yeah, that's cool, let's paint that. It's just every piece I did, I was like, oh, it's an okay drawing, but I'm not really like massively enthused by it enough to the point where I want to really paint it. So in the end, I just said, right, let me take a break. I went away from my desk, fucked around in the kitchen a bit, which is just means I was masturbating in the kitchen instead of... Because you know how some people work at their desks standing up? You see some streamers doing that. Oh, he's standing up at his desk streaming, talking about a bunch of bullshit. I don't give a fuck about it. Why don't you just shut up already? And sometimes I do that while I masturbate. I do it standing up. You know, it's just better for your back and everything, isn't it? So, and then I came back to it after a little bit, and I just said, right, fuck it, let's do this. Draw a nice big Lobo and a bigger Lobo face, because some of the other pieces, the drawings, like you saw I was doing last week, I don't know where the fuck they are. They're not here. Some of the Lobos had like quite a small head, a smaller Lobo head. And they had more of his body. Some of them he had a gun, and I thought that would be quite cool to do Lobo with a gun, because that's badass in it. Some of them I thought like, oh, if I do him with his hook, the hook that comes off his wrist chain, which, depending on which comic you look at, the chain around his arm changes which arm it's on. Because I was drawing him, I was thinking he's got a similar design in one respect to Judge Dredd, where it's asymmetrical. So if you draw him, like I've done many drawings where, and paintings or whatever, where I'll draw the thing, and then when I like go to trace the drawing to ink it, ready to paint it, I'll flip it round because I prefer it that way. Or even I'll paint it, and then when I like go to post it online, I'll just flip the image before I post it, just because I'm like, oh, I'll just have it facing this way, just because fucking whatever, why not? I don't care. Or I do care, but I care in the opposite direction. But you can't do that with, for instance, Judge Dredd and also Lobo, because he's got his chain arm. I figured it's always on his right arm. But then I look in certain comics and now it's on the left, and now it's on the right, and now it's just on... I mean, it tends to be consistent within any given story, any issue or whatever. Like, it's not one side one page, the other side another page. But I guess certain people just prefer to draw on certain sides. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not relevant. My opinion of it is even less relevant. It is what it is. It is what the fuck it is, and that's exactly what it is. But that was just the thought I had about Lobo. I was like, oh, you've got to do from one side. You can't just flip the image, because then it will... But you can, you know, ultimately. Ultimately, if it's Lobo, isn't it? If the chain's on one hand or the other, it's Lobo. Judge Dredd, less so. I think Judge Dredd, if you draw his eagle shoulder pad on the wrong side, it's just wrong, isn't it? You can't really fuck with that. It's got to be what it be. It's got to be what it be, and if it ain't be what it be, then it never would be. And that's that. That's a layer of skin. Let's do some more. So I decided, I was like, fuck it, let's just draw a nice big Lobo head. Fun to paint, big faces are fun to paint. I've got a fart, I'll try and leak it out quietly so it doesn't affect anything on the podcast. I did it, I leaked it out quietly and no one was any the wiser. And have him giving the finger, sticking his tongue out, giving the finger, looking all... And I like his hair all going to like one side. I moved away from the vagina hair, Vegeta, the fajita hair, the Dragon Ball Z hair, whatever, that I was drawing in those other drawings, because I just wasn't feeling that. But yeah, I have his hair like swooping quite a lot to one side, fills up the composition of the thing. I liked it. I like the drawing, and I thought, yeah, let's paint that. A nice big fun painty Lobo to paint some Lobo. I thought I had more to talk about in terms of Lobo, but as of course is going to be the case, as soon as I sit down to record this shit, I forget anything and everything I had in my head to talk about. Which is a little bit annoying, you know. It's not the end of the world. It's not the REM song. The end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. Not yet, anyway. A few more elections, and then I think we'll be there. Political, Ewan. Oh. Am I going to turn into one of those people where people watch my videos and they go, I like it when you do the art, but keep the politics out of it, Ewan. God, I like it when you draw and you say penis and cunt a lot. Keep the politics out of it. You don't realise the politics involved in the penis and cunt. There's a lot to it. It's not just all fun and games. Say whatever funny 4-letter words or 5 that pop into my head whenever I feel like it. It's a very political system that we're in. It's free speech, use of pornographic language, and all kinds of... Anyway, look at that Lobo guy. I was trying to think of examples of other characters Simon Bisley has drawn that, in terms of character design, are in essence just Lobo, with regards to like clothing and such. I'd mentioned a few last week. I meant to mention, but I think I neglected to mention. Is it Joe Pineapples from ABC Warriors? Bisley's version of him. Not exactly, but he has like the shorter jacket. The jacket that doesn't come all the way down to like his hips or whatever, and the tight like biker pants. He's very Lobo-esque in terms of design elements. I think that's neat. Did I mention his Terminator? The Terminator covers he painted, those are very Lobo sort of designs. In his Batman Dread piece, is it Judgment on Gotham? Is that the one? Obviously, the obvious one is Mean Machine, which in the interview I was reading parts of last week, he does at some point mention him, like he likes to draw Mean Machine. And as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, that comes across. You can really tell when Simon Bisley is enjoying drawing a character, pretty much because he draws him wearing the same clothes as Lobo, which makes sense. But I think it's funny that he mentioned Mean Machine, because he's one of the sort of obvious Lobo clones in terms of designing, which is good. And in no way at all am I attempting to be like Simon Bisley's a one note pony, one trick piece. He has certain design choices he likes to make, and he puts them wherever he can, and why not? I'd do exactly the same given the opportunity. I think I mentioned as well how I think not as much as, say, Mean Machine, for instance, but his the Judge Death in that Batman Dread crossover, when he gets his new clothes, that's very Loboian, Loboish, Lobobian, which is, it's just fun. It's an interesting thing. Like you read the comic, you look through the pictures in the picture book, and you go, oh, that's a cool design, I like the way he's done this, and then you see it more and more, and you go, oh, that's just how he designs his characters. but they all, they look good, and it's a good design. Those design elements they do look cool, because you could do the exact same outfit, the jacket, the jeans, belts and skulls, big biker boots and everything. You could draw that and just make it look fucking whack, but when done well, it's fucking good. So ultimately, what I'm saying here is Simon Bisley is pretty good. His art thing. Oh, you're still doing the doodles. You're still doing your doodles, Mr. Bisley. You still doing that? Is that what you're not didn't want to have a real job? No. Oh, you're still doing your doodling. You don't want to get a real job like a real person and actually add something to society. No. That's a parody of what people say to artists. What I've literally had said to me. Oh, you still doing your little doodles, don't fancy getting a real job? Fucking arseholes, a lot of them. Absolute penis cunts, ball bag and shit anuses, a lot of them. Absolute sweltering great knob farts. This is a bicep right here. It's hidden away, but that's what that is. God, it's coming along, innit? Just like me and your mum, it's coming along. I was trying to think of something else where the word long would fit a bit better, but I don't know. I just wanted to talk about how much I have sex with your mum. Yeah, we're looking good so far. Let's put another layer in. So much fun doing the same. See, the thing is, what real painters do is they'd paint like these bits in a darker tone and then the next layer just in the bits where it would show. But I don't feel confident in myself enough to do that. So I paint the whole layer and then just the lighter layer on top and then the lighter layer on top. Maybe not quite as efficient as some other people and some other painters, but it gets the job done. We get results regardless of how many of what an unnecessary amount of layers we use. We get results. And I have seen it work for other people as well, and that's it, isn't it? There is no, there is sort of, I was going to say there's no correct way to do it. There kind of is. And also there kind of isn't. But ultimately, as always, whatever it takes, whatever enables you to achieve your desired result, that's the correct way to do it. So people can say, oh, you shouldn't paint like this, you shouldn't paint like that. You should use these kinds of brushes and this kind of palette and this. No. It doesn't matter. If you want to paint a picture of Lobo, for instance, and you use a wacky amount of paints and layers that may be seemingly nonsensical by, I don't know, someone's standards, as long as you end up with a picture of Lobo that you're happy with, that you set out to make, and it's all good, then you've won. Victory is yours. And to you go the spoils. The spoils being, girls want to sleep with you now. That's how that works. Just get a bit good at painting and suddenly everyone just wants to bone you. I'm fighting them off with sticks daily, I tell you. It's just ridiculous. My inbox is full of just so many just horny young ladies trying to get in my pants. I swear, truth. That's all I do. I don't lie. I'm the most honest person on here, on the internet. I'm the most honest guy. I wouldn't lie about a thing like that. Ever. That'd be silly. It'd be silly. It'd be ridiculous. How dare you accuse me of lying? You. trying to put in like loads of little lines and details and texture and stuff, but sometimes you just got to go put a nice big blob of fucking paint in there. It only makes girls want to sleep with you, by the way. So if you don't like girls, if you're not into girls, then sorry, but that's how it goes. Boys aren't attracted to art. They're attracted to video games about I can't think of anything funny. Masterful, Ewan. Just brilliant. You should do this for a living. I should do what for a living? Nothing. You should shut up. Well, I mean, it's a good job I don't do this for a living, isn't it? The painting's alright. He's not funny, but his art's good. He's annoying as fuck. But he's pretty good at art. A couple of standout comments recently, actually. I was going to save talking about this until the next episode after the Lobo episodes, because I wanted to focus on like Lobo-related talking points, but you know, how much have I really got to say about fucking Lobo? A couple of standout comments recently were one that said... one, because I saw the notification and on my phone, and you know, when you see a notification, you only see like the first part of it. And the part I saw said, "You'll never make it on YouTube," and then B ... which I assumed was going to be because something. And I was ready to be mad. I was ready to like delete the comment, block the person, or you know, reply to them being like, "I'm not trying to make it on YouTube. I'm just uploading videos. It's not about making it. I'm just doing my thing. Shut up. You don't know. You shut up." But then I went on to the thing and I read the full comment, and the full comment said, "You won't make it on YouTube because you've actually got talent," which I thought was quite funny. It's a scathing indictment of the idea of popularity and what gets popular, certainly in, you know, algorithmically based applications and websites. It's not about talent won't make you popular. You've got to play the game. It's also just fucking fun. I mean, it's also a compliment. That was a weird way to say that, wasn't it? It's also a compliment, so I do take it as such, that the person was saying, "You're very, very talented." Well, they didn't say very, very. The person basically said, "You're the greatest artist that's ever lived." I mean, paraphrasing, I'm reading between the lines, but that's basically what they said, isn't it? Their words, not mine, their words. And it's also very, very funny. That was a very funny comment, and I greatly appreciate that. To the person that's... Maybe I should credit them and say it was this person, but I'm not going to do that. Maybe someday I will, but not... Today is not this day. I'm not happy with how this finger's looking. It's looking very, like, blocky and not as sort of rounded as I might have hoped it might look. Another funny comment was... well, not a funny comment, but a comment of note that got removed. I happened to be looking at my phone as I got the notification of this comment, so I was able to remove it almost instantly. It said it'd been up for like 24 seconds before I removed it, which on my cross-hatching tutorial video, somebody commented cringe hatching, which is almost funny. It's, you know, play on words, kind of, I get it. But I don't want to see that when I look at my comments, so I removed it. Which is, you know, just to say I have no qualms or bones about just removing shitty comments. Also, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I don't claim to be a born entertainer. Just fucking hilarious through and through. I fully understand the fact that and why some people might not like, not just not like what I do, but not like me as a person. The sound of my voice, my cadence, the way I talk, the things I think are funny. As long as they like the art, that's what's important. So yeah, I get rid of those comments very quickly. And that's all I've got to say on that. I thought there were more, but again, I thought I had more to say about Lobo. I thought I had more to say about. Maybe I could talk about painting, since I'm spending so hecking long doing that. Apparently, I mean, what's to say? You paint layers and then more layers and highlights and more highlights until the thing looks like the thing that you're trying to fucking paint. Which in this instance is Lobo, the last Zanian. I think it's just pronounced Zanian, like the word Tsar, but not. His nose is a little bit fucky, isn't it? I don't quite know. I might need a bit of outlining to make that work right. Try and fix this finger up a bit. Are nails lighter or darker? Sometimes I paint nails lighter than the finger. Sometimes I paint them darker because I want the nails to like stand out a little bit from the rest of the finger, but I'm never quite sure exactly how to go about doing that. The knuckles. I try not to make the knuckles too just like a spiral. I try to put a few diagonal lines in, like random wrinkles and creases, just to give a bit of depth to the old knucky knucks. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't work. Oh, it's all good, isn't it? I wanted this to just be a quick, fun painting. Like, fuck, it doesn't matter if it's like dynamic or like action-packed or super detailed. Just as long as we get a cool, fun picture of Lobo by the end of it. That's the ultimate goal. Cool, fun picture of Lobo, painted as a painting, in the painting. Cobalt blue and a little bit of Prussian blue. Cobalt blue is good because it's not too vivacious. Oh, that's a good word. I don't know where that came from. It's not too bright and vivid and vivacious, too hysterical as a colour, because that's what colours are or aren't. I like it because it's slightly dulled down, cobalt blue, and it's a very good base blue. But then every now and again, like gets like a Prussian blue, which is more intense, deeper, darker, richer, more like ultramarine-y, royally kind of blue, which can be good when you're painting blue, like jeans or jackets or these types of things. Where the fuck are all my lines going? I don't know. There's hair here and there. The hair, portions of the hair will be painted over the fabric, so it doesn't need to. I don't need to worry about painting around the hair too much, which I will do to some extent. I've got this one piece coming down and curling around here. I'll try to paint around that one just so it stands out a bit, but for the most part, well, not for the most part, but for some of part, I'll paint hair around things, atop everything else. So that's. But then there's these lapels. I don't know. I guess this one's going off up here. That looks about right. Does that look about right? There. Yeah, that looks about right, doesn't it? Should this be going a bit higher, maybe? Up to here? Yeah, that'd do. Good enough, innit? Fuck yeah, that'd do it. Get it, do. It's good when you get for like hair, leaves on a tree, torn clothing and such. When there's lots of little things or stringy things in like a mass, to just paint like blobs here to show like the fabric coming through the hair, so that you're not painting the hair itself, but you're painting the details amongst the hair to show the hair. And then, you know, with a few more like highlights and stuff, that will look like the hair's going all over the place, and you're able to see the material of the jacket through the hair. That's a neat little. It's a neat little trick thing, whatever. But it's also quite fun to like just paint blobs like this, and then when you're done painting the blobs, when it's all done and dusted, you're left with a very effective, like, looking fucking thing. Hopefully, if you've done it half decently. If not, sucks to be your ass, doesn't it? Maybe you should get good. That's what the kids say, innit? Get good. Get on my level, fuckstick. Your mum's a whore. Well, that's what they said to me anyway. Which is really harsh, especially considering, you know, my mum's like biggest prude on the planet. The not strict, but like, you know, about as Christian as a person can be. Like legitimately. Not one of these fake ones. Well, I'm not disparaging my own mother. Shut up. But yeah, to imply my mother's a whore is really like, she's not. I mean, if my mum was a whore, I'd join up. I'd be like, yeah, fuck that bitch, whore bitch. But she just isn't. So it didn't seem. And I was never one of these people that was like, if you said, fuck your mum, I'd never be like, don't talk about my mum. Like, oh, okay, well, fuck your dog and your hamster at the same time. Let's have a pet orgy with all of your pets. I'll have sex with all of them, impregnate them, and they'll all give birth to horrific, horrible hybrid mutant animal babies that will need to be put down the second they're born, if not before then. Hybrid mutant human animal baby abortions. That's what it will be. And then your house will become known as the mutant hybrid animal human baby abortion house, and people will walk past and go, "Ooh, stay clear of that place. That's the mutant hybrid animal human baby abortion house. You don't want to get too close to there. You might catch a mutant hybrid animal human baby abortion, and then only bad things can come of that. You don't want to fuck with that. That shit'll fuck you up. Something fierce. All normal things to be talking about when we're painting Lobo. The more I'm thinking about it underneath all of this while I'm painting and talking absolute shite, I am thinking about more and more how I kind of love my idea of comic book reviews sans actually reading the comic, because that'd be quite funny. And then, of course, the inevitable sort of like, maybe not end, but an inevitable repercussion of that is people who have actually read the thing going in my comments like, what the fuck are you talking? That's not at all what the story's about. You're missing fundamental parts of the story, all these intricacies and the overarching plot and this and that. You're not getting any of that in your review. What the fuck are you talking about? And then I can sit there and laugh and go, ha ha! I didn't read it because I don't care. Also, your mother's a whore. Bit unnecessary, but you know. Hey, if you're going to go around having a whore for a mum, I'm gonna have to call it out. Blue, 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 blue. He's well read, and he blew himself. He blew himself. That's a joke somewhat stolen from Arrested Development, which was good for a moment, and then it wasn't. If you've seen the show, it was good. I think first season or two was good, and then they fucked it. But you know, these things happen. Oh well. Imagine that, a show that was good, and then they made too much of it, and then it wasn't good anymore. Who'd have thought they could do that so consistently? To my knowledge, from my limited research, Lobo has appeared on screen in a TV show, I think, as like a side character. Was it Krypton? Was that a TV show? I assume about Superman and his universe of whatever. And Lobo's in it. Quite a cool looking Lobo as far as it goes. A little bit too like movie version. Like his leathers and all that are black, which makes absolute sense rather than having like bright blue fucking denim or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it looked pretty cool for what it is. All of this limited knowledge came from my research prior to last week's episode. Other than that, I know nothing. But it would be cool, you know, talking about TV shows getting cancelled and being shit or whatever. It would be cool to see a decent, like a Lobo film or show or whatever. But of course, inevitably, they'd make it. It would be shit. It would get cancelled. You'd never see it again. I know there was some word somewhere about like Jason Momoa playing or wanting to play Lobo, or like he thought he was going to play Lobo and then he was Aquaman or something. I don't know. About as perfect for the part as you could get though, really. Jason Momoa, like, he looks like Lobo already. There's not really many people that are already suited to play Lobo without having to change themselves drastically. And then he went and appeared in the Minecraft movie for whatever that's worth. I hope he got paid a lot of money for that shit. I assume he got paid a lot of money because, I mean, I've seen the trailer and I mean, come on. What the fuck are you doing? So also, when you paint, you've got to keep in mind and that is fundamental. You don't ever want to forget that. I don't know what this bit of the jacket is. I feel like I've just titted it up and I don't really know what I'm doing. Let's put some more layers in the blue. Layers in the blue. Layers in the blue. Blue rhymes with poo. Layers in the blue. We'll give him a grey vest. Do some grey on his chain here. And then maybe throw some background in, tidy the hair up a bit, and it'll be close to done. This isn't fucking... you get it. shitted that up, didn't I? I did. I still think one of my favourite things about Lobo is just the fact that he even exists in the whole. I believe I mentioned it last week, of how he was supposed to be like basically a parody or like some sort of comment on overly violent sorts of characters, but then fans loved him exactly for being that, for being an overly violent, outlandish character. And the creators of it clearly just had to embrace that and be like, okay then, fine. I guess that's who Lobo is then. I mean, if you're going to redesign a character, I guess you don't always have full control over it. You'd think you would. You'd think if you've got a character and you try to redesign him, you'd think that you get to decide what the fuck is actually up with him, but sometimes not. I feel like there's more to say about Judge Dredd in there as well, of how it's not quite the same, but like I think one of the reasons Judge Dredd hasn't been more popular in the US is because I think maybe people see him as being like an authority figure, and they don't want to read a comic with this like totalitarian judge, jury and executioner authoritarian guy, not realizing that that's the point of Dredd, is that like he's a parody of that, or supposed to be a parody of that, or something. I don't know. No, I'm going to stop talking about that because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I think that's been a thing though, where he hasn't been more popular for those reasons in certain places, because people just don't quite get that aspect of him. Maybe, I don't know. Is this about Judge Dredd or is this about Lobo? It's about fucking Lobo. So let's shut up and talk about Lobo some more. I don't really have much more to say about Lobo. I should have, but I gave a good painting tip with regards to like the hair and stuff, and that's your lot. I shouldn't have put this up so high. I'll bring that down later on when I do like the background or whatever. I need to do his mouth. I keep thinking this isn't looking. Maybe I'm just fucking up the jacket a bit, but I keep thinking this isn't looking as sort of fun as I wanted it to. Maybe. I think once I get like the face, the teeth, and the tongue, if I get those done, I think I'll feel more confident about the piece overall. So I think that's going to be my next thing to focus on. Let's get them shits done. I feel like I do get bogged down in the details, like, I've got to try and get the creases to look somewhat believable, even though I talk too much about his tricks to not do believable creases in clothing and get away with it. When sometimes I go into a painting thinking, right, I want this to be like lots of heavy brush strokes, quite abstract in parts with a few bits of detail just to sort of like make certain parts stand out or whatever, and then I start getting really bogged down in details and trying to like perfect parts of it, and it just makes me feel like a silly willy. Makes me feel like I can't do what I'm trying to do. I don't know if this part of the glove looks remotely good. No, I think it looks shit. I might need to just erase all that. That's what I call it. I call it putting a bit of dirt in there. I throw a bit of raw umber into whatever colour I'm using. Throws a bit of dirt in there. Makes it a little less vibrant. A little less vivacious. Vivacious? Vivisectionist. Vivisection's where they test on animals. Brilliant. They actually do that. It's fucking disgusting. Oh, we need to test these chemicals. How shall we do it? Oh, there's all these fucking stupid little animals running around. Let's just fucking spray it at them and see what happens. Write it down and go, oh, look, it makes their eyes fucking liquefy and fall out of their skulls. That's interesting. Won't make this available to humans then. Not yet anyway. Wait a few years and then we can. Fucking horrendous. Like, you might watch 28 Days Later, and at the beginning, I mean, the whole thing starts because of like animal rights activists break into a lab with the intention of freeing all the monkeys that they've been testing on. And you sort of, especially maybe early or like years ago, or early on in fucking whatever, you might watch that and go, oh, you fucking idiots, you didn't know what you were doing, and now you fucking set this virus loose and it's destroyed the planet. You should have just fucking let them test on animals. Which, in a way, maybe a little bit of that. Like the scientist that was in there being like, no, you don't understand what you're doing. You're going to fuck everything up. You can't let these animals loose. And then the animal rights activists are like, you're fucking sick. We're going to fucking set these animals free, these monkeys, these poor little monkeys, because you're fucking sick bastards. But, you know, my later years, I watched that and I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Set the animals free. Let humanity burn. Fuck every single person that is happy to indiscriminately fucking abuse innocent, helpless animals for monetary gain. That's why they do it. Oh, well, yeah, but it's for the good of the economy because we need to buy products and then test them for safety, and then we'll go put in the money for the shareholders and for the economy and the shareholders, for the money to put the money. We need to do it for the money. Oh, hey, fuck you. Maybe don't. Maybe leave the fucking animals alone. That's why you get these people that say like, oh, you're not upset when, you know, all these people die and but one dog gets hurt and suddenly you're up in arms about it. Yeah, because animals are innocent. They have no... Like, humans are innocent, depending on, you know, factors. But animals have... animals are literally just hanging out and they get picked up and fucking put in cages made to perform. They get fucking shit sprayed in their eyes. So I chuckled a bit because I very quickly remembered how, along with I'm sure many other people, when I first heard that makeup was tested on animals, I thought it was like they put lipstick and eyeshadow on a monkey. That's what I thought they meant when they said makeup was tested on animals. I didn't realise what they actually meant was they like some fucking horrific torturer. They rub it in their eyes and on their skin and just see what happens, just to see if it's harmful to skin and harmful to eyes and whatever else. Like absolute fucking monsters. That's why I chuckled a bit, because I remembered that and I was like, oh no, that's not what it means when they test makeup on animals. Yeah, animals are just fucking living. They're just hanging out. Or, I mean, it's almost worse to like... Oh, but what if they're bred for food? It's like, well, that's horrific. There's a whole. I think it's based on a book. There's a film called The Island, and it's, in retrospect, not very good. But the premise is, spoilers. Rich people have like loads of clones of themselves stored underground, so that if they need organ transplants or whatever, they can get them from these clones. So they can live forever, ostensibly. That's the basic premise of it. And Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson, they gotta they save everyone, get to the island, but the island isn't real. But it just means you're getting harvested for organ. Like, if that was a thing, people would be like, you can't do that. You can't breed people, grow people in a lab for organs. And I mean, there's the argument to be made of like, well, if they're grown in a lab, are they a person? Well, if you have to build a whole underground society to keep them alive, then yeah, I'd argue they are people, which is, again, the premise of the film. Yeah, if you're growing people for organs, for food, whatever, that's horrendous. That's absolutely appalling behaviour. Oh, but if it's animals, it's fine. And then, of course, you get into the whole argument of like, Chinese people eating dogs. I know they, I think, used to have a whole festival about it. I don't know if that's a thing anymore. And people say, like, that's horrendous. How do you do that? It's like, well, I mean, just because you've domesticated them, a dog is no less an animal than a pig or a chicken or a cow. But you're okay to fucking horrendously slaughter millions upon millions of them. Just have a fucking burger. I don't know where any of this is going, by the way. I don't know how I got onto the topic of talking about fucking animal cruelty. I'm trying to think right now, and I literally cannot figure out how I got onto the topic. 28 days later. Yeah, that's it. Nowadays, I'm fully on board with freeing the animals. Because fuck them. Testing on animals. Fuck you, prick. Have chemicals sprayed in your face. See how you like it. Fucking fuckhead. Absolute bastards, a lot of them. And that's, I mean, I've said a few times, like, veganism is probably the best option purely from like an ethical standpoint. But animals eat animals, and you. Yeah, but animals don't grow other animals en masse and then slaughter them brutally for profit. It does not equate to the same fucking circumstances whatsoever. Do I still eat meat? Yeah. Pretty much out of convenience. Like, for instance, if they made fake meat that was like as good as regular meat, not even as good, if it was fucking half as good as regular meat, but if it was like widely available and affordable, I'd happily eat fake meat. No qualms about eating like vegan meals, but they cost a shitload. Like, to eat a fully vegan diet is insanely expensive. To be healthy and whatever. That's why there's so many obese people, because shit's fucked up. I don't know what I'm doing with these teeth. Jesus. What are you doing, teeth? You ever seen teeth before? Apparently not. Well, welcome to my TED Talk about animal abuse and why it's bad. Why it's bad to abuse God's creatures. And Bible lovers, Bible masturbators will say, God gave man dominion over all the creatures on the earth and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I don't think he meant keep 18 million chickens in tiny, literally chicken-sized cages and fatten them up so they literally can't walk, and then slaughter them, pull them to pieces, grind them up, mash them down into a paste and turn them into nuggets just so the masses can be appeased with some fucking shit fuck food that they can buy for $2.99, that they can order off of fucking Uber Eats and have some poor, horrifically underpaid delivery person bring to their stupid house because they're too lazy to go out and actually get food for themselves. Well, animals eat animals. Yeah, but they don't sit on their sofa watching fucking Amazon Prime bullshit and have other animals deliver them to their stupid, boring houses. Fuckface. Did you see? I've seen Lobo. Oh, he's cool, isn't he? Oh, he don't give a fuck. He's like, oh, fuck you. I'll swear at you. I'll shoot you up. I'll kill Father Christmas. I don't give a fuck. I gotta pee. I really have to pee. I swallowed a load of bad for me energy drinks and now I need to pee, so I'm going to take a quick little break. It is now time for the book segment. This book, of course, because it's Lobo Day. Day 2 of Lobo Day 2. I love this book so much. It's been on my desk next to my shit for since I got it, and I keep just doing this, just off to the side and just being like, oh, damn, god damn. It's just so fucking cool. I'm really happy I went back to buy it and that it wasn't gone and sold out, because that would have sucked. I've put a few notes in to mark some pages I wanted to highlight today. We had a general flip through it last week, but I wanted to look at some more in-depth pieces, or look more in-depth at some pieces, or look at pieces some more in-depth, or look in some depth of pieces more. That's cool, isn't it? The cover, blazing chain of love. Excuse me. £1. Can you imagine buying a comic for £1 and it not being shit? My hand's a bit, but it's cool. As I was flipping through this in the store, I almost thought this was a Bisley strip, because the artist, who I believe they've all given themselves girls' names in the context of this blazing chain of love, whatever it is. So Denise Cowan, I believe is actually Dennis Cowan, I believe, from limited research, which is actual research, just a very, very small amount of Googled once for about 30 seconds. Flipping through it just quickly while I was stood there in the store, I was like, oh shit, is this a Bisley? I think I saw this and I was like, oh damn, is this a Bisley Lobo strip I haven't seen before? That's quite cool. But then as I was looking through it a bit more, I was like, no, I'm not sure it is. But Dennis Cowan, who is the actual artist that drew it, has done a pretty fucking good job of not imitating, but keeping that sort of Bisley sensibility of Lobo. It's very Bisleysian, and I like that. The shadow's really fucking cool with his eyes glowing. The robes on this lady here, that's really cool. That's a cool panel, just like the border of junk and garbage and stuff, and then him in the foreground, her in the background. I guess he's sort of mid-ground, she's, I don't know, whatever. Jet bike, that's a cool page as well. Good thirds and the sun and yeah, man, it's good shit. Some good Lobo drawings as well, just generally. I think there was more I wanted to say. Cool other characters. I think that's a problem I have, maybe, sometimes, occasionally, possibly, is I put all the emphasis on the main character, and then everyone else can just fuck off. They're just doodles. So it's good to see like decent characterization on these. That's really, really cool. I love the shape of his body, like a triangle, a Dorito. That's decent. That's a difficult sort of view to get, like a curving sort of expanse of landscape, buildings and stuff, stylized buildings. But yeah, man, it's impressivo. And then there's this page, bang, bang, bang. He's shooting a load of women's bodies, I think. I don't know. As always, probably could do with actually reading the shit, but I don't know. You see, you've got a Zimmer frame, a little walker to help him go. I don't know. Oh, did he get jumped by a woman? They did a whole bunch of stuff in the bushes. I'm numb from the neck down. I guess it's true what they say. You can't get too much of a good thing. Yeah, I guess he got bonked into disability, which is quite funny. And more of them are coming for him, and he says no and shoots them all. So there's just dead women everywhere. I'm not sure how well this flies nowadays. It seems a bit much. But, you know, cool, funny, good sort of women's bodies and good colouring as well. I don't know if Dennis Cowan did the colour. Noel Giddings did the colours. Really good colours. Like the fade from pale yellow to richer yellow into oranges, pinks and then reds. That's really nice, with the blue of Lobo sort of like somewhat centred in the upper half. Yeah, man, that's good shit. Oh, it keeps going. I thought that was the end of it. And that's more, well, I was going to say more of the same. It's not quite more of the same, but it continues. Really nice, like, close-ups of women's faces and shit. This is a cool angle. And then just, I guess, dead women's bodies. And then a bunch of stuff. And then this one, Keith Giffen and Alan Grant. Keith Giffen, I believe those are the two sort of co-creators of Lobo. And Keith Giffen drew this strip. And even just that cover. Say your prayers, Queep. He's got like water pistols in his holster, his bottle and his binky. That's a badass looking Lobo. It's a cool cover. I mean, I was saying last week, the lines that this guy uses for his pieces are really interesting. And they do give a different kind of texture. Those hands are cool. They're like coming towards you, kind of like, I don't know, like that sort of. Yeah, really, really cool. Insane amounts of detail. That's a really, really good Lobo. I like it because it's got these straight graphic kind of angle lines, which I use quite often. Similar type things. And then like just decent muscles and straps and chains and stuff. That's such a nice Lobo's back. Look at that. Fun, isn't it? And the whole wrestling thing going on. That's great. Doing a suplex and the legs are torn off. This crowd is cool. Good colours in this one as well. Colours. I like when they fuck with the names a bit, so it's Sleazy Giffen, Greasy Grant, Easy Kindzierski, Cheesy Klein, Queasy Raspler, which is that, you know, that's quite funny. But if you're actually wanting to know who the people are, you've got to go and Google Lobo Grant, Lobo Giffen, and find their names. So for the colorist, it's someone Kindzierski. Did a really, really good job with colours in this piece. I love the wrestler in the bikini. Really, really fucking nice drawings in this. I think I said before it feels like a blend of Mobius and Jeff Darrow, but with very much Giffen's own style very prominent. It's because the amount of detail in it sort of gives traces of Jeff Darrow, and then the almost sort of European sensibility of design and architecture and costumes and stuff. Like the futurism parts feel quite Mobius-like. But then his like use of line and stuff is very unique to him. It's insane, the details on all of this stuff. And it doesn't even feel like, because sometimes you see that much detail and it's like, oh, you'd have to sit down for days and days to do these pages. But it's, I assume, done with like drawing pens, like fine line pens. It doesn't look like each page would even be that taxing. Like I assume the guy is competent enough that once he's got like the layouts done and penciled or whatever, the inking probably doesn't take that long. I mean, it might take time, especially the details, but I don't know, if it's got a certain sort of energy and quickness to some of the lines where it doesn't feel like they're, because a lot of the lines are somewhat wobbly and jagged here and there. They don't feel too laboured, and like the panel borders aren't rulered. They've got wobbly lines here and there, and I really like that part of it as well. It's just really, really cool drawings, like really fucking good drawings in this. I so enjoy looking at it. And the little Lobo, kite stuck in a tree, he's looking up at it, looking mad, gets an idea, he's got a chainsaw ready to go. That's pretty brilliant. Once again, it's time for Little Lobo. We love Little Lobo. I might have to do some Little Lobo drawings. I actually did, you may have seen, some little like quasi proto animations of like Jason Voorhees and Leatherface and a Homer Simpson one of like almost like video game sprites just sort of breathing up and down kind of. And I was tempted for this podcast to try and do a Little Lobo like running cycle animation, and then every now and again have him run in on and off screen and like stop and blast a gun or something. Because it might not be that hard to do that. I could find a running cycle and just sort of imitate the frames, but draw it as a funny little Lobo, and then have him run on screen, run off screen. But that would still take quite a long time. Like even a short, just running cycle that I could repeat, and then him pulling out and shooting a gun. A few seconds of animation, but that could end up taking like a day or more just to do that, which, not to say it's not worth it, and I still would like to do that, and it would have been nice to have put the effort in to get that done for this Lobo special podcast, but haven't been feeling it, so that may be something for a later date. Again, the detail, the style, the shapes are really important. Shapes are what's so important to me in like porn and stuff. Like it's not always about like I like blondes with big tits, or sexy black women, or Asian squid porn or whatever. It's almost always about shapes. So it can be like any sort of size and shape of person, any type, any colour, whatever. But it's down to like the shapes their body makes and stuff. So when it comes to art, it's similar. I like shapes, and there's some really, really nice shapes and lines. And lines, I like lines as well. That's why I like Simpsons porn, because it's got the best of both worlds. It's got all the shapes, all the lines. It's fantastic. And now Lobo's in the army, I guess, or something. He's been conscripted. I like Army Lobo. I like the look of him. He's got a good Lobo as well. I like this guy's Lobo because it's clearly Lobo. Obviously, at least to a greater or lesser extent based on Bisley's redesign of Lobo, but it's very much his own. Like it's Giffen's way of drawing Lobo. Like the previous one, was it Dennis Cowan? His Lobo looks like Simon Bisley's Lobo, but Dennis Cowan has drawn it, which is perfectly fine because that's the Lobo design. But this really feels like almost. Obviously, this is more Bisley-ish, but he's definitely applying his own sort of design to him, especially later on in the story where it almost looks like an entirely different character. Like you could look at that and not even know it's Lobo, because he doesn't have, apart from like the face, he doesn't really have any of the trademark Lobo elements to it, which is fairly brave. You know, I don't know how much of that was written to be that way. Obviously, if the story calls for him to be in the army, then he's got to look like he's in the army. But yeah, that's a crazy panel as well. Like these explosions are so stylized that you sort of have to accept that they're explosions, like based on the color and everything and the shapes used. You go, oh, these are explosions because they're fiery yellow and orange. But it's just a crazy panel. The border is insane. Just his arm, the gun, with this tube here with a mouth and tongue, lips and a tongue spitting out the empty shells. That's really funny. All these crazy pouches and straps and zippers and things. It's absolutely nuts. These lines across the shirt, like, because I do, you know, lines that sort of imply fabric folding and stuff, where, you know, you just take it for granted, not take it for granted, but you just sort of accept these are creases in clothing. Whereas this is like that to another level. It's like just almost random lines, but it's a sort of slightly crinkled vest. It's very, very cool. That's a cool fucking space station thing. I always feel like I'm at a loss when it comes to designing that shit. Lobo Infanticide. That's cool too. Bones. That's a cool helicopter. I think I said before, I believe the premise of this is Lobo's daughter is tracking down Lobo to kill him and gathers up loads of his other kids to join in with the killing. And more insane. And like this, that, not quite, but it's verging on like abstract art, like Picasso, fucking almost cubist, in terms of like the lines that are used to make up this face. The teeth are almost the only somewhat realistic part of it. The cigar smoke almost looks pixelated. This stuff going on here, like, I'll throw some random lines in around like these areas just to look like the skin randomly sort of creasing up and stuff, but that's a whole other level. It's almost bad, but like in a good way, kind of. That's fucking intense. This cocksucker getting blown away, his spine coming apart. That's a great pose. His shirt sleeve torn off and the guns just doing their thing. Blasting him. Shells everywhere. It's crazy. It really does feel like somebody drawing a comic the way they want to draw a comic rather than the way they're being told, like, you know, not keeping to a typical DC or Marvel house style or whatever, but obviously it is a DC comic, but yeah. The size of that gun, little Lobo here, Lil Lobo, and this insane fucking cannon blowing the planet up. Of course. course, of course, of course. In book 4, I guess his daughters found him. And then it's the showdown. It's quite cool how, like... Because if you say we need... Or we don't need, but, you know, the idea for the cover, Lobo and his daughter opposite each other, shooting at each other, that could be really difficult. And it does feel like he's sort of squished it in, and the guns are quite dwarfed, and the explosion's quite slim, shooting out from above and below. But that's sort of quite a good way of fitting that in. And it's a really interesting cover on a carpet of shells. It's really, really interesting. It's really well done. I like it. I like it a lot. It's a good splash panel of them facing up. This is good. I think it obviously is just like photocopied or copy pasted or whatever. But I like these now and again when it's just... I'm Sue Lemon, your daughter, Lobo. You're my daddy. Grinding her teeth. And he's there just like... for an indiscriminate amount of time. So what are you trying to say here? What's your point exactly? After all that. That's pretty funny. You cold-hearted, insensitive bastard! Don't you know how girls feel about their fathers? We love them, goddammit, we need them. Lobo's a bad father. Tut tut. Oh, this is funny. Lobo in like the style of Archie comics. Don't know if this is how he got a girl pregnant or something. I'm not reading it, but that's quite a funny little cutaway. And then, well, that's the fight. Ooh. I'm trying to figure out what happened. I think her nose was stuck to the cliff somehow, and then he twatted her away, but because her nose was attached, she sprung back, slammed into the rock, and she's just like in the rock, and then she peels her face off, her eyeball and shit attached to the rock while her face is pulling away. That's pretty brutal. I like that. That's cool. I'm not trying to speed through it, but there are other things I want to look at. That's really, really cool. I like that. A good backlit silhouette. And I guess ultimately he killed his daughter, I guess. I might have to actually read that one because the art's so good that it's almost a shame not to. Not that I've read the Bisley ones or whatever, but again, the cover by Glenn Fabry, just absolutely bonkers cool. Just thoroughly fucking intense. And I've said before, I don't know if there are new people around, but Glenn Fabry was my first like painted comic inspiration that really made me think like, oh shit, these are paintings. Like I could sit down and potentially do that. And it was only after that I really started to see Bisley's work around, because I started to notice Simon Bisley's work because of having seen Glenn Fabry's work a bit more. And then I realised Simon Bisley's work is a bit more stylised and a bit more dynamic, whereas Glenn Fabry is really sort of strict with his anatomy and stuff, as you can probably see. He's ridiculously realistic and detailed anatomy, whereas Simon Bisley would take anatomy and just fuck with it and be like, yeah, whatever, arm, leg, shit, whatever works just to get the picture done. whereas Glenn Fabry was always known for his anatomical drawings. He sticks to that form a bit more. So then I saw what Bisley was doing, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to stick to this strict thing. I can go a bit more wild with it, and that's when I started getting a little bit more Bisley obsessed. But yeah, Fabry's work, it will always like... I consider Glenn Fabry to be pretty much at the top of my list of favourite artists. And then like one or two down from there would be Bisley, more than likely. We'll get through this one, at least somewhat. The Mike Mignola covers are really, really nice. I might have to track them down so I can look at, because I think there's 3 or 4 of them. I want to sort of look at them all side by side in one long thing. I know they don't like make an image, but I would just want to see them all together rather than having to like flip back from page to page to see all the covers, see this one and then see this one. It'd be cool to just... But they are really fucking cool. It's sort of typical Mignola, but not in a bad way. Like very much in a good way. The huge black shape of this thing, and then Lobo on top of him, almost coming out of it. And the shapes of the bodies are almost comical, almost silly, but like it works for sort of Mignola's style and everything. Drawn by Cam Kennedy, who, as I said before, somewhat reminiscent of old Mick McMahon. Really nice line work. I do love the lines. I see every now and again, I'll see like Lobo, sometimes his jacket has sleeves, sometimes it's got one sleeve, sometimes none. And I like the sort of one sleeve torn off completely. Yeah, real nice, real nice artwork. And Cam Kennedy is another one that's not strict with it, but he sort of keeps his anatomy fairly realistic. You know, fairly, relatively. But he's really good with cartooning, like the way he draws his faces and his character shapes, like with the high trousers and stuff. Really, really good character shapes. He's good at like I don't know, I don't want to say volume, but I guess volume. But yeah, so he's really realistic anatomy. He has rules for his anatomy, but he's cartoony enough with it that it comes across in a very fun way. I can't think of any right now, but there are comic artists out there who like stick to anatomy strictly. Maybe someone like Jim Lee, fucking fantastic, phenomenal, insane artist. But I find his work to be very sort of nailed down. It doesn't get too wild and crazy. It's brilliantly drawn, and it goes as wild as crazy as like the scripts necessitate. But he doesn't do a lot with like outside of the bounds of, you know, basic structure and anatomy. Not that I've seen. Maybe he does. Maybe I'm speaking out of my arse. But the little I know of Jim Lee's work, it seems to be that case. He's very good with like house styles because he's quite sort of solid with what he does. Whereas someone like, you know, Cam Kennedy, I prefer 2000 AD artists because they do have that sort of like goofiness and cartooniness to them. They don't take themselves too seriously while still being very much serious artists. So they can draw some shit and make it really fucking good. There was a hot lady. Did I go past the hot lady? Shit. I was talking a bunch of shit and there was a hot lady in her underwear and I completely fucking missed it. Oh, look at that. Oh, fucking tits. Oh. So I mean, there is stuff in here that I could like pick out and go, oh, this is really good. But ultimately, it's just like, I love his lines and shapes. I don't know, I can't really say that too much. I pointed this out before. This like, I'm trying not to hiccup. I apologise. This fake Wolverine. That pose is excellent. The shading and lines are excellent. The shapes, really, really fun. Not incredibly keen on using colour to make the shapes in this apparition, but you know, it's whatever. Like, I'd rather see some pen shading to imply these creases rather than the colourist having to do that. And you can see, like, without any of the lines there, it would be quite bland just to have a big shape. It might work, but yeah, I'd rather see lines than this computer Photoshop airbrush effect. That's a really, really cool pose. It's a great. I love throwing the arm backwards like that, the leg out and twisted as well, not just like straight out, but the leg out and twisted with the creases going up from the crotch across the leg twisting, kicking there, this leg firmly in the ground, and a floating image almost, but still feels like solid, booting this fucker in the face and then jumping up and down on it. That's a great page. Like, this fits into this really well. And yeah, like, you can see his sleeve, the creases aren't really drawn, but it's just a bunch of lines to imply material sort of bunched up. Similarly here, but it's sort of a bit more zigzaggy. But well done, because you can do that stuff and have it look shit, as I know only too well. But yeah, fantastic cover. Like, if that was anyone, that would look cool. The fact that it's Lobo just obviously adds the little bit extra coolness. It's almost weird seeing Mignola draw like other people's characters, I guess, and I don't know, slightly more sci-fi stuff. Obviously, you know, the BPRD and Hellboy is sort of sci-fi, but I don't know, it's a very specific kind, I guess. Who's this guy? It's a funny little fella. He's having a great... Oh, he tied his beacon in a lot. That's pretty funny. Ah, look at that. Telling me that's a chain. That is not a chain. I can tell you that. That is basically the same, but you can kind of think it's a chain because of the angle. There's a few chain links in there. But this, that is just some shapes. He's just gone, yeah, chain, fine, whatever. Good to know I'm not the only one, because fucking chains, man. Goddamn fucking chains. I guess this is the cast of characters, I don't know. That's so cool. I think I pointed that out last time as well, but man, that's a good one. That's a good one. Drawing bikes is... I can just about draw like a bicycle. And even then, it's only really because I had one as an adult several years ago for about a year. Previous to that, I hadn't had a bike since I was a kid and certainly wasn't paying attention to like how to draw them. But when I started using one for a while, I started to draw them because I was like, oh, I figure I can draw a bike now, because and that bike I had to work on the seat and get some new parts to adjust the seat and the handlebars a bit. So I was paying attention to parts of the bike that make it a bike. I mean, it arrived like disconnected. I had to like basically build it after I ordered it, so I was a little bit more intimately acquainted with the mechanics of a bike. And so it makes complete sense that I sort of have a bit more knowledge on how a bike works and how to draw a bike. But when it comes to like motorbikes and stuff, that would be the kind of shit where I'd want to like buy, like a fairly accurate model of a motorbike, like about this big, like a die-cast model with spinning wheels and stuff that I can like move around and look at. Because Google Image can only do so much for you, and if you want to draw a bike like this, like if you don't have decent reference or you don't know how the shit looks or works, then you're going to be at a loss. God, this story just goes on and on, doesn't it? That's cool. I love a good sideward pose, side-on sort of angle. Get some really good shapes out of that. I don't use them too often, but maybe I should. I always feel like, if it's from the side, you're not seeing enough of the character, so I have to turn it, which is silly, especially when you're doing a comic, because like potentially you see the character from every which way. So that's the end of that one, and I think I'll show this one just before I shut the thing for now. It's this like mini strip of Lobo going to San Diego Comic-Con, and then people think he's Bisley. He gets given a name tag, Simon Bisley, at Comic-Con. Don't know what a Brit is, but it don't sound healthy to me. One of the Brits, are you? Don't know what a Brit is, but it don't sound healthy to me. That's funny. And there's Image Comics. And yeah, so it's like just like an overview. I've not read it, so I don't know why he's going to Comic-Con. But he's looking at comic books, and then he goes to a Comic-Con for some reason, and chaos ensues. I like these as well. These like parodies of classic, like Superman's first appearance, Batman, but it's Main Man, and Action Frags, The Thrash, Captain Bastich punching Hitler's head off. There's really, really decent like parodies, and that's obviously a Liefeld nod with the foot. that has a Liefeld like leg and foot if ever there was one. That's really funny. Like, that's just cool as it is. That would be a funny cover for anything convention special. And yeah, it feels like the writers just sort of, writers and artists just airing their grievances about comic conventions. And there's loads. I mean, there's insane details and just like little jokes everywhere. Just little writing, little things. Alan Moore, postmodern, penance locks. Penance locks. All of this shit. Trading cards. Old comics kept in a dank cellar. Spend, spend, spend. Comics in bags. Golden Age. People in costumes. Raphael costume's pretty cool. Like, it looks like a costume rather than the turtle. Just stuff going on. And Lobo getting mad at all of it. Beating the shit out of everyone. Talking about panels. Portfolio reviews. Oh, this is quite funny. I did read these couple of pages actually. So I guess they all think he's Simon Bisley, and they're all waiting in line to show him their portfolios. Just love your work, Biz. You've been a big influence on me. I've always wanted to work in comics. I think I'm just about ready to make the move to pro. How much do you get paid? Of course, I wouldn't expect the big bucks till I was established. So, when would you like me to start? And it's like Just like I do, the typical big muscly Wolverine. Your anatomy's crap. What? I said your anatomy bites. Comprende, butt face? But don't be put off. I'll show you how to improve. Come here, geekwad. The anatomy lesson. Pay attention now, because I'm only running through this once. He just grabs some guy, throws him on the table. Don't hyperventilate, kid. You'll spoil your blood colour. Right, now, this here's your basic muscle structure. Just cutting the guy up in front of them. Colon, intestines, stomach. Note the bile glands, left and right ventricles. And look, there's the bones which provide the underlying structure, of course. Oh, and then he stuffs the guy inside the guy. Now you get right in there and study up, okay? You'll be doing graphic novels in no time. Alright, who's next? They've all scarpered. That's really, really funny. The awards banquet. Back issues. Costume parade. It's really, really funny. Really funny. Good stuff. Good show. Good show. Yeah, whatever. Typically, the outlines and things usually get left right towards the ending of a piece. That's usually how I paint. But every now and again, I like to put them in here and there over what I'm doing, just to sort of get the thing to a stage where I can look at it and go, yeah, that's looking good. It's because sometimes I get to a point in a painting where I'm looking at it and I'm a bit like, a little bit about it. And then, getting a few more details in there, getting things tidied up just a little bit, not to a point that it's about to be finished, but just a little bit tidier. That can sort of almost give me the confidence to be like, yeah, okay, I'm doing all right. I'm heading the right way. Things are looking good. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep going. Keep moving. And we'll all live happily ever after. I came back from doing a wee out of my penis. Just did a wee out of my penis. My knob did a pee, a knob pee. And my phone was had the little battery warning icon, and I was like, oh shit, really? I haven't been filming that long. And usually that's you've got 15% battery left. Careful. Charge your telephone. And I was like, oh shit, how much is left? And I looked and it was careful, you've only got 45% battery. And I was like, come on. I don't need a warning for 45% battery. Jesus. I'm good. We're fine. Everything's okay. I don't need to. I mean, in one respect, okay, thank you, phone. It's good to know that you're looking out for me like that. More so than any of my exes ever did. But at the same time, fucking shut up. Shut up, device. You're a robot. You're not built to fucking shut up. I don't need to know if I've got 45% battery. I do need to put his mustache in, which I found out whilst drawing Lobos is that I rarely leave a lot of space on the upper lip. I very often squish the nose and the upper lip together just to make the mouth look usually for a gnarly goblin grin or something. And then when it comes to drawing Lobo, I realise I don't give myself any space to add in his mustache. Which I don't know if it is a mustache or if it's paint or skin things like his eyes or whatever. It's one of those elements that was carried over from the original really funny almost camp design of Lobo from the 80s. So yeah, I don't know if his mustache is a mustache in the traditional sense, or if it's akin to like a cat's fur or whatever, having markings on it. That, you know, you can look at and go, oh, it looks like a face. Oh, it's got a face on it. It's like, well, yeah, that's just because you're a silly person and you see patterns in things that aren't there. Oh, so now you're having a go at people seeing faces and things, you and I. Is that what you do now? Miserable fucking sod, you, and shut up. Me, at me, about me, for me. And so, you know, I think I don't know, but I could see myself maybe at some point becoming like a full-on pacifist. Because sometimes I play a game like Fallout or something, which I love, of course. But I play them and I'm like, the guns, man. I'm so... what's the word? I don't know. I'm so troubled by my enjoyment of like cartoon violence almost. And then I do think about like... and that's like my one of my primary things is fucking gun Viking. Am I really comfortable? I'm so conflicted. That's the word I was looking for. Am I really comfortable like spreading gun violence when I'm so against it in real life? So, you know, I'm not to say that's what's going to be the case. You know, I also would like to, as I've said, take up like a vow of silence and just shut the fuck up for a few years, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. You know, I just kind of need to... That's one of those things that's like, if you're in a position, like if you're a monk and you live in a monastery and everyone's doing like vow of silence type shit, then yeah, it makes sense. Or if you're some rich fuck and you can fuck off to your own little island paradise for a few years, if you can afford to live without working for that amount of time, then yeah, you can take a vow of silence and just never talk to anyone for however long. But for some fucking working schmuck like myself, I'm not really in a position where I can just take a vow of silence. So I'm not saying I'm gonna suddenly become some pacifist, but the idea is in my head. If nothing else, you know, maybe it'll just be a phase. I'll just have a pacifist phase. I thought about it recently, and I was sort of contemplating, would it affect my art, and if so, how would it affect my art? And like, could I make, for instance, a pacifist comic? Like, what kind of comic would I make that was pacifistic in nature? That Lobo head looks cool, doesn't it? Grrr, fucking yeah, violent Lobo. But also, be nice and kind and to each other and be peaceful and loving. Well, I'm aware that, you know, you can not like violence, but then still like cartoon violence for what it is or whatever. Like, just because you like, you know, comic book violence doesn't mean you endorse fucking mass shootings or whatever. But it's just the thought inside me that's just like, but it doesn't fill me with a great amount of comfort when I'm spending all my time going, yeah, fucking guns and shit. And then I open up the news and I see the news, you know, literal fucking genocide and school shootings and stuff. And I've found myself growing like what may be called softer in more recent years, which I think is called maturing, I guess. You know, I used to watch videos of people committing suicide and be absolutely okay with it. But now, any sort of video with genuine, real-world, like, violence and death in it really fucks me up. I can't watch that shit anymore. It really fucks with me to see. It distresses me to see actual violence being enacted on people. Who, especially, you know, when people are just trying to fucking live, when people are just animals hanging out, and then someone comes along and fucks that up. That fucks me up. Admittedly, not in as serious a way as it fucks up the people it happens to, but it doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't make me comfortable. And so when I think about like me and my art and stuff, I do get a bit like, oof, you know. And then the question is, okay, what then? What do we do in terms of art if it's not going to be Flesh Bob chopping people up or Gun Viking blasting people's heads open? What then will you do, Ewan? What's left for your art after that? And that's about as far as I got with it. I did think maybe I could like try to focus on funny. Try to really come up with like a genuine funny. I could do goblins, like funny goblin comics. Goblins living their goblin lives. Like I still would like to do that sort of like goblin book about goblins, like a goblin handbook, guidebook or whatever. I could do that, but in comic book form over a long period of time, and then eventually collect them all together and have like a whole book of funny goblin comics. That could be an avenue to go down artistically. And of course, none of this is to disparage anyone who, you know, likes violence or violent art or whatever. You like what you like. It's perfectly right. I get it. I play games like Fallout, which aren't obviously the most violent types of video games, but I draw guns and blood and shit. But it's just I feel these things inside me, and when I run out of Lobo shit to talk about while I'm painting him, this is what comes out. I've got to fucking talk about something. Let's paint some metal. Should we do his chains? Let's get some paint on his chains. Some grey. Grey with blue. Blue-grey. Gunmetal grey. I did try to get some detail in his chains, but also, as you can no doubt see, I also put a bunch of it in shadow so I could avoid actually painting most of them. But now, because of that, because I went over it with a Posca pen, just putting in shadow, I can barely see. I did draw actual chain links, but now I don't know. I can't make any of them out. I have no idea what any of my lines are doing or supposed to be. Which, I mean, you can kind of just draw like a line and then a line and a line and a line and a line and a line. And if you do enough of those, then it sort of looks sort of like a bunch of chains together en masse. there are ways to do it sort of somewhat believably. There's ways to fool your eyes into thinking it's a load of chains when actually it's just a bunch of shit. And I've perfected none of those ways. So I'm just painting a load of random lines and hoping for the best. That's all any of us can do, really, isn't it? Paint a bunch of shit and hope for the best. If it comes out good, cool. If not, do it better next time. Or, you know, do something next time. Might not be good, but it'll be something. It'll be something. Oh, I did have like a chain kind of hanging from the massive chains here. I don't know how well that's going to come across. Sometimes my chain links bend, which isn't always great, but it's fucking whatevs, isn't it? There's been a few times where I'm sure I've spoke about it over the years as well, of trying to almost force myself to be like a furry artist, or to get into doing that, like trying to start drawing animals the way furries do, but you know, still with my own sort of twist on it, my own style, because furries typically do have a very specific way of drawing their creatures, their creations. And I wouldn't want to seem like too much of an outsider, like I'm trying to just use their culture to make money or whatever. Because essentially that's what it would be. I know of and have known of many artists who do furry art, and they make a lot of money. Because as I understand it, there's a lot of furries in like computing circles and stuff, computer engineering, coding, other words to do with that, and these sort of positions can be very high earning positions, so you can get a lot of furries with a lot of money, and furries have a very specific set of interests. And if you're able to visualize some of those very specific interests artistically in ways that the furries themselves might not be able to, then they may be willing to pay you a lot of money for that. And I mean, a close personal friend of mine spent to me, a very surprising amount of money to have a custom-made virtual 3D model of his furry character, his fursona, made for VR chat. So when he's in a VR chat with his furry friends, he looks a certain way, like he wants to. So he had one made by someone who knows how to do that. For, like I say, what I consider to be quite a lot of money. I'm sure this friend considers it to be a lot of money too, but it's something they're interested in, it's something they want, something they had the money to spend on that thing. So absolutely, why not? Why not fucking do that shit? And you know, I've got to make a living somehow. And if I'm going to end up going down this fucking weird, non-violent pacifist route, as a person, as an artist, whatever, maybe furry art is at least one avenue to go down. Maybe not the way to go, but could be fun, couldn't it? Plus, most, to my knowledge, furry art is like digitally created, digital paintings and whatever. I'm sure plenty of people use AI. Although I don't know, maybe the furry community at large is opposed to AI. I'll have to look into that. I don't want to speak out of turn or speak on anyone's behalf. Don't like to do that. But there may be like a gap in the market for instance, very stylistically drawn ballpoint drawings of furry art. They might like the bright neon pinks and purples and blues that I use in my ballpoint work, but with their furry characters. I don't know. They might see me coming a mile away. They might see me trying to like leech off of their culture that I'm clearly not really a part of. And I used to think furries were absolute fucking dickholes. I've known a few, and in my younger, more abrasive years, I was like, oh, what a bunch of freaks and knobheads, absolute fucking waste. But no, I mean these days I know more furries personally. I sort of tend to agree with some of their politics and things. They're very largely LGBT, at least LGBT friendly and inclusive, which is good. These days I've really no bad things to say about furries. Like any culture, you get the bad apples, but I'm not getting into that. All of that is to say, furryism is all well and good. Personally, not into it. It's not my thing. I've sort of kind of tried to get into it just to see if I had those tastes, but it's just isn't for me. And in that respect, I think if I suddenly started drawing furry art, it would probably be very apparent that I'm not one of them. And they may, call me out for being like some fucking tourist or just trying to make money off of a culture that is obviously not mine, which is a thing I'm typically quite against. And it's not that I'd be trying to make loads of money off of them. Obviously, I'm just trying to make a living, I've got to make a living. I do art. I can draw. If these people want drawings done that I can provide, then let's fucking do some shit. But I wouldn't want to, look like I'm leeching off the culture for my own monetary gain, which is what I'd be doing, but I wouldn't want it to look like that's what I was doing. Jesus, the fucking tangents. Fucking bullshit I talk about just to have something to say. Let's paint this skull. I gave the skull funny beady little eyes because I thought it'd be funny. And it is. It's fucking hilarious. Oh, I meant to give it actual skull-like teeth as well, but instead he's just got a frowny little mouth, so I'll roll with that. I'll take it, that's fine. Oh, did you hear Oasis are getting back together? Oh, wow, that's something. This hand is a fairly accurate representation of the care I give about the whole Oasis thing. Just about that, Not in an angry, oh, fuck off way, but in just a way that's just nah, I don't care, it's whatever. I appreciate a couple of their songs, sure, but I'm not really into them as a band. They both kind of seem like dicks as well, so, Maybe one more than the other, but still fucking irrelevant and not interesting. Shut up. But you do, in fact, have to roll with it, and also with that, take your time. There's lyrics for the song. Let's get his grey vest, tank top. So at least start on that. And then we'll get some background in. This has been a very weird one for conversation. I don't know. It's I guess it's just what happens, isn't it? It's just how it goes. Talk about the painting. Well, it's sort of, you get it. It's layers. It's all layers. It's actually coming along quite nice. Maybe not my best piece ever, but it's pretty alright. I quite dig it. I dig it. That's how I talk. I say things like, I dig it. Let's get a little more red out of the tube. And a little more cobalt bloob. Bloob. I'm thinking a purple, a lightish purple for the background, and that will solidify a lot of the hair. I'll get some highlights in the hair, not too many, but some. And then a couple more outlines, some white highlights on bits, and that's when it'll be more or less done, but that's when it'll really look. That will all bring it together and have it looking like a cohesive fucking thing, yeah. So let's get this purple. Do I want it a little bit lighter than that? Yeah, that should do. Oh yeah. As I say, I will add in some darker elements to the hair atop this afterwards. I don't know why or where the whole Oasis thing came from. Very, very weird. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. That's from The Simpsons. It's one of my favourite lines from The Simpsons. From The Simpsons. Can't talk at all. I should just shut up. I should take a vow of silence and just shut the fuck up. That's what I should do. Well, enough people have commented on my videos saying that much anyway. I've said a few times one of my favourite things about The Simpsons is because The Simpsons initially was supposed to be like a parody of just, you know, suburban family life or whatever, or typical American life. And that's really exemplified by the fact that nobody in Springfield really has any business being in the positions they're in. People at the nuclear power plant are all fucking worthless, bar like a couple of people. The police force is absolutely worthless. Just everyone is just absolute dog shit. No one knows what they're doing, and no one is in positions they should be in, or everyone's in positions they shouldn't be in actively. And I really love that fact. That's such a good, like, clear comment on just life in general, and that's how it goes. No one's where they're supposed to be. No one knows what they're doing, and I think it's so well exemplified by that It's when it's Boy Scouts in the Hood. When Bart accidentally joins the like happy campers or whatever, and they go on a family or a father-son boat trip, and Homer goes along and fucks it all up. And just before they get in the water, they get in their boats, and there's that like one beat up rubber dinghy that they're about to get into. And the sea captain's there, and he goes, "Yeah, here be a fine vessel." And they push it in the water, and it just like sinks, bubbles, and just goes. Bloop, bloop, bloop. And then the sea captain goes, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing." That was a terrible impression, but the point still stands that it's just a brilliant like, just encapsulation of that. Just, which is, it's good to think about when, if you're ever in the position where you think like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, I don't know where I'm going, what I'm doing, I don't know where to go or what to do. Just think, nobody does. And if people tell you they do, you get all these fucking bro scammers telling you, oh, you just got to do this and lift that and wake up this early and drink these things and get all this protein, and like, it's all bullshit. No one knows what they're doing. And maybe that's the point. Maybe you're not supposed to know what you're doing, because life is accidental. Do you know, I try not to get on like, you know, I'll speak about a political thing here and there, but I really try not to get on like a high horse and be like, I've got something to say. Everyone listen to me because I'm going to say something big and important and relevant to, you know, our life and time. Like, I really try not to do that because, you know, this is what I do. But there is something I've been thinking about lately in terms of like life as a fucking whole, and a way I've thought to explain the accidentalness of life, because everyone loves to point out, like, if you see those images people post of you know, a series of you know, tree roots, and they look like the nervous system and the galaxy, and it looks like the human eye with all the synapses and things, and like nature and us, and we're all interconnected, it's all one, we're all combined, we're made out of stardust. And to a degree, I'm fully on board with that, but you've got to think, like, for instance, mold. If you leave, like, I don't know, none of this is a perfect example. It's been thoughts in my head, and I've got to talk to fill the space, so I'm going to talk about this now. If you leave like a piece of bread out, if you leave it somewhere really cold, it will get, like, I don't know, somewhat preserved. It might go stale. If it's too cold, it'll freeze, and that'll be that. If you leave it somewhere too hot, it'll maybe go stale, maybe get really hard and dry, or even burn up, and that'll be that. But if you leave it somewhere with enough warmth, enough moisture, enough air, shit will start to grow, literally, or like a petri dish. Like, it needs to be left in certain conditions for shit to grow in it, for cultures and molds and penicillin. That's a word that feels like it's relevant to say, even though it's maybe not. Like, if all those conditions are met in just the right ways, shit will grow from a thing, from almost nothing. Like, you don't have to introduce bacteria to, you know, in many cases, shit will just grow if it's in the right conditions. Because there's almost certainly going to be bacteria there already. And for me, that is perfectly exemplified in terms of the planet Earth. You've got all these other planets that are just a little bit too far away from the sun. The atmosphere isn't there. It's too cold over this way. It's too hot over this way. Too dry, too barren. And nothing can grow because it doesn't have the right conditions. But then the Earth, like, people say, oh, how did the Earth come to be? How did all this shit just happen to grow on Earth? And it's like, well, it just literally just happened. Like, this is the orb we are on because it just happened to be the right distance from the sun. It got some sort of gas and an atmosphere. It got moist enough. It got, warm enough, not too hot, not too cold. And stuff started to grow on it. Just like, it's a bit cliche, but like humans are the bacteria. We're the infectious fucking disease on the planet. Which, in a roundabout way, we kind of sort of are. And I'm sure if you were able to look at Earth as a whole in one space over a long enough period and like hit the fast forward button, it would look almost identical to a petri dish full of fucking enzymes, ? Or something. And then if you speed it up, you'll see it all go like and like grow, and stuff will grow and start moving around, and the Earth would look exactly like that, theoretically, to my dumb idea. It's not like Earth was put specifically in the right place on purpose so that shit could grow. It's like, no, this rock, this bit of dirt, just happened to be close enough / far enough, close enough to / far enough from the sun, had the atmosphere became what it is, moisture, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. And then stuff started to grow, and that stuff that started to grow over a long enough period developed and evolved, became organisms, became creatures, developed to live in different kinds of atmosphere that the Earth had over all its fucking zillions of years of life, to the point we're at now, where we have literally just grown out of that over a long enough period. And that's all it's been. It's been long enough that we just happen to be the result of that growth of fucking bacteria and shit. And we got it in our heads that like, oh, fire. Oh, look, there's shit in the ground. You can pull it out. Oh, you can melt it down. Oh, it creates energy. Oh, this. Oh, I can turn this shit into glass. I can melt this down into steel. I can reshape it and turn it into a girder, a building. Oh, I can turn this shit into microchips and this shit into that. Oh, cool, I can get children slaves to like harvest fucking zinc and shit for batteries. And brilliant. And that's it, and that's all we are. Life is accidental and incidental. And so the idea that, there's somewhere you're supposed to be, or that life has a purpose, is ridiculous. there isn't that. That's it's insane to think that. Everything just is the way it is. Personally, if I'm going to go into my own personal politics, humans have fucked it up. Like, there are those memes of like, a vision of a beautiful Icelandic countryside, and then the caption is like, humans saw this and invented 40-hour work weeks and Microsoft Excel or whatever. And yeah, basically, humans, developed a bunch of shit, and then they came up with the idea of money, and then they realized if they have money, they have power because people want money for reasons, and then they realized they have to maintain the amount of money they have in order to maintain the power they have over others. And capitalism, etc. So yeah, whenever I hear people talk about, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, most of that comes from the fucking atrocity that is capitalism. Just saying, well, you're supposed to work and money and power and influence, and then you have a good life because of all of the money. And it's like, yeah, that's why humans grew out of fucking mold on a rock, so they could money all the money. Brilliant. Just bloody brilliant. See how this works though? All these little blobs, and he makes bits of hair. God, it's like his hair, but it's not. It's just blobs of paint, but it gives like texture to his hair. Isn't that good? Wow. I think I need some like heavy shadow here, some heavy shadows under his legs just to sort of weigh that down a bit. Maybe not too much more detail in his hair is really necessary. I might do a little bit of that though. God, many TED Talks when I need to fill up space with my stupid voice. If I was anywhere close to like musically gifted, all I'd have as the sound element to my videos would just be that, whatever. So I just sit and jam for fucking 2.5 hours, put that as the soundtrack, and then people could comment, "Oh, your drawings are really good, but your music's fucking shit. Why don't you just pay for some music?" People love to hate, don't they? And that's one thing, as you know, I say, I get it when it comes to people not liking me. I despise they're just jealous argument. That's said by like horribly insecure people that say that shit. And, you know, I'm sure there are people out there that are jealous of, and I have seen people that may just be jealous of me and that's why they hate me. But for the most part, I don't think that is the case. Like when you see certain comedians say, "Oh, people are only hating on me because they're jealous of like I've had this really, you know, great success in a short space of time or whatever. They're just jealous." And it's like, no, you're just unlikable. You're just a fucking asshole, and people see that and they don't like it, and they don't like you as a result. And so that's why I'm fully on board when people don't like me or what I do. I'm not about to sit here and go, they're just jealous. They're just jealous that I can draw and paint so well. They're just jealous of me being so funny. They're jealous of my massive dick. Like, no, it's perfectly reasonable and understandable that they just don't like me. I completely understand. I've met so many people throughout my life I just don't like. I just don't fucking like them. I don't know if I brought this up on any podcast. I think I meant to. You know, of how you have friends at school or whatever, and then at some point, like, something just switches and everything about them starts to annoy you. Like, literally, you'll maybe they won't be in class, and then you'll know they're about to be there, and you'll picture in your head how they'll walk into the class because you just know them and you know their mannerisms and stuff, and just thinking about that will annoy you, and you'll just be like, ugh, they're going to sort of walk in that certain way they walk, and they're going to say some shit in their stupid voice, to the point where you just end up hating them because everything about them just fucking annoys you. I've had lots of those moments because I'm a hateful, horrible person, which, again, because of that, I understand people might not like me because I get it. I can't be mad at it. But yeah, sometimes you just maybe it's vibes, but yeah, you just don't fucking like a person because they're just, you know, it's not to everyone's tastes. Not everyone is to everyone's taste. And that's valid, you know. It's perfectly valid. You don't have to fucking like everyone. It would be nice if everyone can get along. Like, even if you don't like a person, it'd be nice if you can still get along. Unless, you know, they support fucking white supremacists and shit. Fuck those people. But, you know, when you get people saying, hey, just because we disagree politically doesn't mean we can't be friends. Sure, but if our disagreement is based on the fact that you're supporting fucking genocide and, you know, killing people because of, you know, who they choose, or not who they choose to love, who they love and who they choose to be with, I guess would be the better way of saying that. Or if you hate trans people just because they exist, then us disagreeing on that means that yeah, no, I don't want to be around you at all. We have nothing to say to each other if that's the case. Ooh, Ewan getting political again. Shut up, talk about the painting. Me to me. That's when I talk like that, I'm rarely like mocking anyone that might leave a comment. I'm basically talking to myself as myself, but in a different voice, saying, fucking shut up. So I put a bunch of his hair in. You can see, I think maybe his hair looked better before I did that. But now I'll see if I can put some kind of like texture, some like highlights and shit in his hair. I'm trying to do it like how, you know, I painted that Lobo's back piece with the one big arm. I really liked the hair highlights in that because they were fairly minimal, but they were done in such a way that's very effective in terms of showing like the texture and shit of Lobo's like thick, clumpy hair. I think I've read him described as having dreadlocks, and I think in various times I've seen him drawn in such a way that it looks like he has dreadlocks, but I really don't. Like in Bisley's version, it never appeared to me that like he had dreadlocks. It just looked like thick, clumpy, long hair, and that sat right with me. Especially if, you know, Bisley's design is based on himself as a bike lover, a motorcyclist in motorcyclist gangs and such. He's not going to have dreadlocks, is he? That's a whole other sort of subculture of white people that have dreadlocks. Which I'm not disparaging, I'm just saying it's a thing. But yeah, I much prefer the idea of him just having thick, matted, unkempt hair. I don't know, again, because I don't read, I don't know if it is the case, but I don't see Lobo as like taking care of his hair and such, or his appearance in general. Maybe he does, but I don't see that as being something Lobo would really spend his time worrying about. And for instance, typically, dreadlocks are supposed to be like taken care of. Some people see them as a sign of neglect and, you know, filthiness. And I think in terms of like white hippies, that may be the case. But traditionally, like dreadlocks are very well taken care of and clean. And so I think if Lobo was going to have dreadlocks, he'd have to take care of them and keep them clean. And I can't see him being that guy. But again, maybe he is. I don't fucking know. I don't read this shit. But I like the idea of him just being... See, because then I can relate to him a bit more. If he doesn't care about his appearance, he just has like thick, matted clumps of hair. I like that, because he's just like me, for real. And then in that respect, Lobo could be my Joker, could be my Tyler Durden, my whatever, is it Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, that guy, Christian Bale. Is that the name of the character, Patrick Bateman from American Psycho? I think it is. That's funny, isn't it? Christian Bale was in American Psycho, so was Jared Leto, and then Christian Bale went on to be a really good Batman, or a pretty good Batman, and then Jared Leto went on to be the worst Joker ever. So that's quite funny. I don't think I need too much more in the way of highlights for this hair. Maybe just one more little layer, just on like the tippy tops of some of these bits. looks pretty cool, doesn't it? It's pretty fun to paint that. I like that. God, look at that. Nice texture in there. Kind of, more or less, I guess. God, that was a quick come down, wasn't it? Oh, look how good that looks. I guess. Well, it looks alright. It's not brilliant. It's kind of shit, actually. I'm like fucking Statler and Waldorf from the Muppets. It was great. I loved that. Well, it was okay. Well, it was pretty good. There were parts of it that weren't very good, though. Actually, it was pretty terrible. It was bad. It was awful. Get off the stage. Boo, boo. It's actually really funny. There's Task Force use that. I think at the end of one of their songs or one of their albums, one of their Music from the Corner albums, they have a little sound clip of Statler and Waldorf doing that, and I think it's really, really funny. Again, that's something I relate to, as you've seen. I do that with so many of my pieces. I go, oh, this is coming out pretty good. And then I do a little bit more, and I'm like, well, it's not that good. And a little bit more. Actually, it's kind of terrible. This is awful. Why did I even start this? I should quit. Fuck this. Tear it up. Start again. Squeeze out some more white paint and cover everything up. Cover up my failures with white paint. Oh, for the love of God, please don't see me as I actually am. Boo. Let's get a bit more detail on an old Scully boy here. Skullsy Wolsey. A few little textured blobs in there. Look at how much texture you can add with minimal paint. Brilliant. I don't think there's too much more that really can be done. A couple of little ditties here and there. Oh, ditty. I'll talk about that guy. Just for the record, like, for instance, I never liked Harry Potter, never had any reason to like J.K. Rowling, and now I feel fully vindicated in that. Being like, nope, J.K. Rowling's a cunt, Harry Potter was never good, all absolute bullshit, and I feel very much like, that's good to know. I was right all along. Which, it's always nice to know, oh, I was right, I was right, people will know that I was right now. It's a little bit shitty, but I was right. Harry Potter fucking blew right from the start. I tried reading the first book and it was boring. The movies fucking stunk. The acting was shit. Oh, but if you watch the later... Shut up. And P. Diddy, never liked him. Whenever I'd seen him like interviewed or whatever, he just came across as an arsehole to me, frankly. Thought he was a cunt. And I feel absolutely vindicated in that. Completely. Yep, my opinion is absolutely correct. P. Diddy, absolute piece of shit. Big old piece of shit is P. Diddy. Big piece of shit. So that's good to know. I don't know, what did I say? Oh, because I said like a little ditty, but I guess the word is ditty. Let's play a little ditty. But it sounds like Diddy, and that guy's in the news at the moment for various reasons. For being a big piece of shit. I mean, I can be a bit of a piece of shit, but not to that degree. Maybe I need to try harder. Be more of a piece of shit. If you're not reaching Diddy levels of piece of shittedness, are you even trying? So I keep getting up to just check it out in the camera and such, just to see if I'm happy with how it's looking. And yeah, it's alright. I think some more shadows in a couple of places. Do I want to throw some really big thick shadows underneath? I'm just thinking here of like his cock area. I was going to be sort of a bit more polite and say his groin, but his big dick. You know Lobo's packing heat in that respect. You just know he's... Maybe I haven't exhibited that perfectly, but canonically, I think it's probably safe to assume that Lobo got that. Especially, I believe he's supposed to have like a shitload of kids all over the fucking galaxy or whatever, so he obviously lays pipe, as they say. Again, just another way I relate to the guy. Not really. That's the joke there. Oh, I think this shadow should. I've been trying to do like get a bit of underlighting on the bit there and have the thing, and I should just fucking just throw that shadow in, just chunk it out, chunky fucking fat shadows on his undersides. This is a knee pad, but you can't really see it, so it's just fucking whatevs. Yeah, that does alright. Let's get this in a bit, embolden this shadow. Chains and shit. Jacket. I think I was going to put like another bit of his arm in there, but evidently I fucking gave up on that shit. Oh well. Oh, I'm done. A bit of shadow under there for the bit of the bit. Yeah, it looks alright, doesn't it? I swear that's most of my like painting videos is me going, oh, what about this? Does this look alright? Yeah, that looks alright. Even if it doesn't. It's good enough. Good enough. All bloody good enough. Some texture. That's what this is. This is how we do texture. Just bits, just bit of texture, bits of. Oh, look at the texture. Oh, it's so textured and lifelike. Oh, cool. I love the texture you use, you, and it's so textural. Fucking whatevs. Yeah. And then nearly done. Sit tight, nearly done. My battery's probably about to die, but it's all good. It's all fucking good. Do. Let's get some highlights in here. I feel like his face should be whiter, but we've got enough of white people, haven't we, eh? Final highlights on every piece. Always. It's actually amazing how much just like these final few white bits of paint can really enhance a painting. Let's try to get a bit of shine on the tongue there. I will add, I think, a little bit of rim lighting to this side of his face. Try to be very careful, very gentle with it. His hairs. This is a super thin brush, but I'm using very thick paint, so it's not giving me as thin lines as I'd ideally like to have. Oh, that actually looks quite good. I quite like that. And then a few hairs in there with the white, and there to shape it up. 10 points if you guess where that reference is from. The shape it up line. That's from somewhere. I've done 100 outlines, but I always shape them up. Only the real ones know that. What is good to do as well is when there's shiny metal, just to do this. Just little dots on like the apex, just where there's just a little bit of shine. It's a little ting, twing, twing. Shiny little shines on the metal. I could have put a bit more detail in the chains, but fuck it. It's enough, it will do. A little bit of highlighting on this scully skull face, and I think, well, not to say like that's obviously done, but I don't think there's too much more I can really add. Do you know what I mean? Sort of, it's got to be like, it's got to be enough in it. No, maybe. I don't think there's too much more I can add. Proceeds to add much more. Little shine on his cock. Like a nice cock shine. I think that's just about it. I don't know. This feels like it's getting a little bit lost, but that do. Well, that was it, wasn't it? I said we're going to sit and paint a Lobo, and what did we do? We sat, we painted a fucking Lobo. And that's that. I don't have a closing statement. Thank you for staying around if you did. Although I should, yeah, it is true. I should give him some of that, actually. Oh God, that's gone terribly. That's where I do sometimes struggle with like pupil placement, not knowing quite where they should be, and get a final little dink in his eye there. Yeah, thanks for sticking around if you did. Also, I think this whole journey and getting this big fat fucking book has given me a much greater sort of love and appreciation of Lobo as a character. I could have done some purple underlining, fuck it. And I sort of really do appreciate him a lot more, and I'm actually a lot more interested to even possibly read some of his comics and get to know him a bit better. I think we could be quite good friends someday, and so maybe it's done that for you too. Maybe you've come away from this with a bit more of Lobo, fucking Lobo, yeah, he's pretty cool. Fucking, yeah, I'm into Lobo now. No, I'm not going to shut up about it. But that's that, isn't it? It's just whatever. Painted a picture, hung out, chatted some absolute shite, and then on to the next thing, I guess.